talked a little bit about clubs and groups to keep your teenagers and your children busy and enjoying mixing with Australian young people. So sometimes stepping outside your comfort zone is what is required. And so just in relationship to the children, there are good school holiday programs out there, and sometimes these will be advertised at school. Sometimes you'll need to go online and have a look at the Gold Coast page, Gold Coast City Council page, or often they're advertised at the local library. So I'll bring some next time we meet and we can have a look to see if you've been able to access those too. And then, like, if you have some very energetic boys and they've got bikes, there are BMX bike tracks where the kids can go bike riding. And you just look around and find things, so as you share together you'll probably come to some of those. For yourselves, once again, I'd encourage you to get into groups through the church, or even through a local church near where you live. You don't have to attend that church, but there's often churches, and if you feel a little shy to go to them, take one friend, but don't take too many friends, because that way you'll stay in your own corner. But just go with one friend, and that way you can mix with them a bit more, and they'll be able to help you in what you do. By the same token, you're beyond this now, but there are new English-speaking groups. We have one that meets at present. It's run by some people who just use our facility. And every Monday afternoon, they get together. I go sometimes, and there's people there from Europe, and, oh, can you turn my phone off? Sorry. Sorry about that. So, yes, get to know where there are activities on that you would like to participate in, and then that will help you with your English. Oh, what I was going to say, from one group, especially if it's students, university students, then so they meet in Surfers Paradise for one English-speaking activity, then they go down to a cafe or a restaurant in Southport and they get another opportunity to mix with different people. Some of them are quite structured, but some of them are more relaxed, and you can have conversations and develop your speaking in English that way too. So, thinking about socialising with Australian families, I'll talk just a little bit about the kinds of food we eat in our homes, which you might have observed already. But because we grew up in the Western style, Helen and I grew up in a family where our mother used to cook a roast dinner every week. And now I don't cook a roast dinner hardly at all. So things have changed with time. And in Australia, to buy roast beef or roast lamb is not cheap. So, and it's something that the children aren't accustomed to. So I refer to that because that's very traditional. And so if you sometimes have a family birthday in an Australian family, or a grandparent is having a birthday, they might cook a roast dinner. And so for us, a roast dinner, it can be cooked in the air fryer. It's not a big deal, but it's the meat, roast potatoes, maybe roast pumpkin, maybe roast sweet potato. Some people will have big pieces of vegetable, some people will cut it up very small, and so they have a variety of vegetables there. And then alongside that, there's always the yellow vegetable, the green vegetable, and sometimes a lot of Australians, especially the men, they love their potatoes. So where you'd have rice, we would have potatoes as a choice in what vegetables would be. So I've noticed my grandchildren, often they don't even like green peas. But green peas and green beans, for the adults, that's how our parents fed us as we were growing up. So to me, that is one of the most traditional Australian meals. But the good choice that we have now is the roast chicken dinner. So you can have the same kind of dinner and do it with roast chicken and your chicken's not going to cost you more than $10, where your roast beef's going to cost you $30 or $40. So you make the adjustments according to what you can manage and what the special occasion is. If you meet people and they say they're actually from England or Britain, they're very much into having a piece of meat like that, even if it's corned beef, and having vegetables around it. But a very popular option here is families love Italian food. And it's not that we have Italian ancestors or anything like that, but it's easy, it's quick, and I know even my 3-year-old granddaughter, they'll eat spaghetti. And so sometimes what we do is we will put a spaghetti sauce, and we'll have one bowl with meat in it, and one bowl will just be without meat. And then we have the spaghetti noodles. And so that way the very little children can be catered for, or if you've got vegetarian family members, they can be catered for too. So the good old spaghetti is quite a popular one. And then if you've got people, my husband, he grew up in America, so he loves Italian food, but he likes it spiced up a bit. So herbs and spices in the sauce is something that he really goes for. Now when we talk about, the other option of course is lasagna or cannelloni, some of those other ones, but you can see them in the grocery store. When, as Australians, we talk about Thai food, we all think we love Thai food, but we have a very narrow vision of what Thai food really is. And one of the favourite ones that Helen and I have with our families would be teriyaki or satay chicken. So you can buy the jar already made up, but if you want a good recipe, talk to Helen, because she gave me hers. And I've put in the notes that it's just with coconut cream, sweet chilli sauce, and the peanut butter. And then if you've got nuts like peanuts, you can do things with those too. But I find the children quite enjoy that too, because you've got a little bit of spice with sweet chilli sauce. But and my little grandies, who there's going to be 4 of them now, the baby's just been born, they love rice. So they're probably like your children. They love a big bowl of rice, and they'll just eat a tiny bit of the chicken and with the sauce, where the adults will have much more balanced appreciation for that kind of food. Another one that's very popular, especially in my house, but I think it's more and more becoming an Australian favourite, is Mexican food. Mm-hmm. So we enjoy almost like a lasagna, but made with Mexican. So we buy the corn tortillas and put a chicken in a Mexican sauce, so it's more of a chili flavour, and we roll those up and make enchiladas. So that's a really nice one, lots of good cheese over the top. We're changing a lot more in Australia. We've got a friend who has a business here with his father started it, and I buy he sells into restaurants, so I buy my mayonnaise and chipotle sauce and things like that from him. And I was talking to him the other day, he sells into the IGA stores now, and he said they are just going in trying to get the option to go into Costco, the big wholesaler, but they are making a cheese sauce. And I said, that will be so popular, because we just grate our cheese and melt it in the oven. But if they had a nice cheese sauce, you can buy cheese sauces in a jar, but they're making one that will be very popular with families, because sometimes you just want corn chips with the cheese sauce over the top, or a little bit of meat and a little bit of cheese sauce. But I find if I set out the dishes, the younger grandchildren can have some meat, some cheese, and a little bit of tomato and lettuce too. So lots of variety, lots of different options, and you will find a lot of families are like that. I've mentioned in the notes the fast food restaurants. We don't eat out a whole lot, but I make hamburgers and my husband puts the burger patties on the barbecue. And so on a Friday night, I know the traditional Australian meal is fish and chips on a Friday night, but even fish and chips has got quite expensive. And so you can do fish and chips at home. And like I mentioned earlier, the air fryer has become so popular. My daughter hardly uses her oven anymore. She even said to me yesterday, I made scones, which are like little baking powder biscuit scones, in her air fryer. So the young girls are exploring all those different options. But hamburgers, hot dogs and fried chicken, very popular, and easy meals are those rotisserie chickens you buy at the supermarket. So a nice way to have something substantial on a Sunday when you don't really want to cook too much is you put a few salads together and you have your chicken. So you'll observe that someone might invite you to their house, but don't be offended if they've hardly made any of the food. They might have bought quite a bit of it from the supermarket. Yeah, so you can buy nice salads, all those kinds of things. And I think the older generation, we still like to make some of our own, but lots of good veggies. Like I know the little kids, they love corn on the cob, so we don't hardly ever have corn on the cob, but we buy corn, but it's in a bag at the supermarket and the freezer section. So you will observe as you go to different Australian households, casual eating style is very popular. And we were talking just earlier about Mother's Day and then Father's Day or family birthdays. Yes, we like to go to restaurants, but sometimes if you've had a string of outings and busyness and you're on a budget, we say no, we'll eat at home, and you'll just do a barbecue, or you might do something a bit more special, but you can always do it at home too. So that's the way Australian culture goes right now. I thought I would just mention too, if you're looking for something different to do, because we're always on iPads and television, and yes, you can go to a movie theatre, and probably if your children are gone or they're out, you can go to the movie theatre. But a great way to have an outing with the children is to look at when there are the area or the city basketball, rugby, AFL games are on. And there are, and league is another one. And my husband was just saying, he loves baseball because we lived in America for a few years, but my grandsons like basketball and they like soccer or rugby league. So he's going to talk to the dads and say, shall we take the children to a game? So that can be with the Gold Coast Suns, it can be with the Titans, the Brisbane teams, and those sort of things are fun things to do. They cost a bit of money, so you may only do like once or twice through a season. But it's just, we see that on television, and it's a big treat for the Aussie kids to go to an actual game and to be able to see them. And I think we are quite fortunate here, because quite often if you keep an eye on the Metricon Stadium and then the other stadium, up by Robina there's lots of good things on. I didn't talk about pizza, but pizza's very popular, as you all know. You get lots of flyers in your mailbox, and the kids always love pizza on a Friday night too. I did want to mention that art and culture do have a place here, and I think we're quite fortunate on the Gold Coast because there are quite a few different avenues where you can see music, opera, and we went to one of your lovely operas, and there are singing groups available. The Home of the Arts, HOTA, just down not far from here, we can tell you about it. They have some lovely events, and I've been to see different groups perform down there. And they also, on their website, advertise any special art, like a clinic, and they will teach you to do art, and they will teach you, sometimes it might be sculpture, sometimes it might be pottery, but it's just a matter of being familiar. If you go to the library, just keep an eye on their notice boards and see if there's something coming up that you'd like to do. I have two friends from my church, and they are very into painting, and I'm learning to appreciate it, but they do modern painting. So to me it's like beautiful splashes of colour, but I'm learning to appreciate this kind of art. and so they belong to like an artists guild. The one they belong to, if you want more information, I'll get it for you, is down in Southport, and they have 2 or 3 key ladies there that will train you how to do your art, but they also do workshops. But then if you're already quite a proficient artist, you can go there and share with them your kind of art and what you like to do, and then they'll help you put together your own art display, your own art themed wall. This room that we're in is about the size of a classroom, so they have a store that they've been given to use for the arts, and they can fill the walls, and sometimes it's one person's art, sometimes it's 2 people or 3 people, and it can be your own theme or something like that. So if art is your thing, look out for those kind of opportunities, and I'll get those details if you're interested in that, because I see quite a bit of their work popping up on Facebook because they're my friends, but often it doesn't really interest me because that's not where my artistic appreciation is, but I'll go because it's nice to support what they're doing and their hard work, really, although it's their creative drive. So really nice opportunities, and sometimes you see them in the mall, the shopping malls, and so it's just a great way to get out and appreciate things, and nice that people have still got time for those kind of activities, because they are definitely a way of relaxing and being able to enjoy things. So thank you very much for today. We've just covered a bit of the down-home Australian common sense that we take for granted, but I'm sure you're starting to learn to take for granted. And let Helen and I know any questions you've got, and we'll always research for you too and help you find things. So thank you very much for having me.
Now we have 10 minutes Q&A. Anybody has any question?
Sure. Do you have any question for Joe?
Because I have 4 children, all in school.
Yeah. 4 children.
So I always sort of wondered what's the sort of education system in Australia, because we as Asian, education is very important.
Absolutely.
Because we think it's an investment for the next generation.
Yes.
But over here, you don't sort of compete each other so much in academic.
Yes.
So I was wondering how Australian and New Zealand people think about children's higher education.
It is quite, once again, like we talked at the beginning, quite relaxed, but yet really if you really drill Australian people down, they want their children to have every opportunity, but they then start to think, is that the gifting of my child? Is that something they're really excelling in? So yes, they give them a little push, but it's more left to what the children feel they like to do. We're going to do a session on how you can approach the high school and start to prepare them a little bit more. But we need that in Australia as much as you do, because you have put such a good work ethic into your students. We admire that.
Because I understand not everyone is academic.
That's
so
right.
They have to find their talent.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I don't know how to sort of guide our children individually, not for the
And I know 1 or 2 of us have talked about the TAFE college, where they can do more of a skill or an area of art or culture. We have 2 nieces from New Zealand. One of them now lives in Brisbane, but they finished a degree that was more in fine arts, but it has allowed them both to have photography businesses. So they can photograph weddings and do a lot of things with their photography, but their degree was quite wide-reaching and covered all areas of art. But then from that, it still gave them a pathway to where they wanted to go. So it's a matter of learning those sort of things too.
but they do have guidance officers in most of the schools, and I would access them just so the child can even have an interview away from the parent. Sometimes they're trying to please their parents, but they really want to do something else. And there's also the trade school in Rabini.
Yeah, so I watched the Brian.
Yeah, that's right. And the kids can leave school in grade 10, like formal school, and follow a trade. And we need trades in Australia. I mean, so the most successful people are tradespeople. Yeah, and we need them. There's a housing boom in Australia, especially Queensland. So they'll be needed more and more. Yeah. And if that's what the child loves, that's where they'll be happy. It's about them being happy in themselves. Being strong.
May I ask one question? It's about how to accept Australian if they invite us to their house. What kind of thing we need to prepare before we?
Yes. One of the things that you'll hear say, whether it's the church or the homes, is bring a plate, bring a plate. And when people haven't been used to that, they think, why am I bringing a plate? But it means you choose what you would like to take. So you can ask the mother or the hostess, what would you like me to bring? And the way we tend to narrow it down, we say, would you like me to bring a savoury dish for the main meal? Or would you like me to bring a dessert, a sweet? And that way, they appreciate that you've contributed, but they feel like, oh, well, they'll bring something they enjoy eating too. So sometimes you can even narrow that down a bit more and say, would you like me to bring a salad? And some ladies, I've heard them say, bring a green salad. So that means they want you to bring a lettuce or a coleslaw salad, and you can put lots of things into it, like the tomatoes and the nuts and seeds and things like that. So you've just got to keep talking to them and say, and they'll even throw ideas around with you. That's what we do.
I think is, from me living here for many years, that we love different foods. So the thing that I would love if one of you came to my home is if you bring an authentic nibbles. You know, nibbles is what you have before the main meal.
Yes.
So I mean, I would just love that rather than asking you to bring a Greek salad.
Yes, that would be no good at all. Yes, I'd rather that, yes.
I'd rather have spring rolls or dips.
So what you say is you welcome me to bring
Please.
our
Yes.
snack.
Absolutely.
Or food, like, or food to the house.
Absolutely, yeah. And they might even ask you to bring a drink, you know, so you iced tea or Australians don't drink a lot of juice. Well, we're trying as a health professional, we try and get rid of juice. It's full of sugar. So iced tea or mineral water. Some people drink wine. Whatever you drink is what you take.
And don't be afraid to ask the family, are you wine drinking people? That way you don't feel embarrassed when they say, oh, you're welcome to the wine, here's a glass. But if you feel like you want to do what they want to do, then you know before you go. And that applies to us too. We never quite know the situation, so you just wait and see. Ask.
Yes.
Yeah, ask. Yes. Keep your questions on your pad, and then you can bring them to the next session
Yeah,
too.
we can ask next time.
Yeah. Mm.
So much to digest.
Yes.
So I'd like to end up today's environment and increase their well-being in here. This is even me. I have been here for 6 years, but I still struggling. So this is I can feel the way you feel.
Yes.
I have been through this from beginning as soon as I arrived in Australia. So this is the intention why we run this course.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Just want to share this.
Thank you, Tina, the president of the Global Federation of Chinese Businesswomen Australia.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Teresa.
everybody.
And MC and our member and the teacher. We're from Korea.
In the future, this class will grow into international.
Yes, I think so.